crunching on Sydney's rental market shows those on welfare or the minimum wage can now afford just 1 in every 300 homes available for lease.
Cost of renting is officially at crisis point.
Sydney's rental madness has hit a new low, with an enclosed balcony in the city advertised for more than $350 a week.
Hey everyone, it's Scott here. I'm going to be talking today about the housing crisis and why it is actually worse now, right now in 2025, than what it was at the peak of the pandemic. Let's unpack it. And also I want to show you why this housing crisis is not going to be solved in the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe in year 7, 8, 9, it'll start to ease, but in the next 5 years, from 25 to 2030, it's actually going to get worse, and we're going to see property prices here in Australia accelerate further. Let's go over all the factors that are creating this perfect storm for property investors, but definitely not the great situation for our society or our communities. So guys, welcome back to the channel. This is where you're going to get all your news and updates about what's happening around the property market, money, finances, and generally how to get ahead in life. Since the pandemic, rents in this country have gotten massively out of control. Check out this chart, and as you can see, on a month-to-month basis, rents have gone absolutely crazy. In many suburbs, we've seen rents actually double or more than double. And even in the areas where the rents have not gone up that much, we've seen increases of 40 to 50% over that time. And this has created a housing crisis, a cost of living crisis. It's putting people out on the streets. It's causing fear, it's causing anxiety, and it is eating up ordinary Aussie household budgets. Now, many might say this might be a big boom for property investors. However, during the same time, interest rates also increased 12 times. So landlords, property investors were not pocketing all this additional rent. They were simply using that additional rent to cover the much higher repayments on those mortgages. Now, if you want me to put into context how bad this housing crisis is at the present time, think about this. In the last 12 months, we had over 400,000 permanent arrivals in this country. And currently at the moment, we only have around 40,000 homes across the whole country available for people to rent. Think about this for the moment. The population of Canberra is 400,000 people. Think about all of the roads, the hospitals, the schools. That is a whole entire city. And we have 400,000 people coming to this country, permanent people that are going to be here for a very long time, arriving in this country, and we need to be able to house them. Now, when you think about housing, you think, okay, I just got to build houses, but you've also got to build the infrastructure, the roads, the schools, the hospitals, and everything that goes with it, and the employment has to be there as well to be able to have those homes. So when we say just build the homes, this is actually a much bigger problem than just constructing homes. We are talking massive amounts of infrastructure which also need to be built, and we are talking billions and billions of dollars worth of investment to be able to ease this housing crisis in terms of the infrastructure, the land releases, the building, the materials, and the labor required to put all of this together to stop this housing crisis. Now let's just take a look around the country how bad this is at a capital city basis. So check out this chart and you can see the vacancy rates all across the country. Look at how low these numbers are. Perth, Brisbane, you can see here, Sydney, all around the place. Melbourne at 1.8%. That actually looks healthy compared to where some of the other rates are. But Melbourne also is experiencing a huge housing crisis as well. Now, as I said, can we build our way out of this? Well, one of the big issues that we do have is the rising cost of construction here in Australia. And basically in the last 4 years, to build and construct a normal average 4-bedroom home in this country, it actually now costs 40 to 50% more than what it used to cost back in 2020. So just in the last 4 to 5 years, house prices have gone crazy. Now, it's different state to state. I'm going to put this chart up so you can see the cost of building a home in each capital city, how much it has increased. So guys, you can see here, basically New South Wales have gone from about 400,000 to over 500,000. Victoria, 350,000 to almost 450,000 there. Queensland, a huge jump, in fact, a 44% increase from around 300 grand to 450K. This is because the labor shortages are quite extreme in Queensland. Western Australia from 300K to almost 400K, ACT 450K to 563K. Across the whole country, we've seen a 28% increase. So think about it for a moment, guys. We need money to be able to build and construct homes. We need money to be able to build and construct all the infrastructure. Where does this money come from? Well, it's got to come from either mum and dad, private investors, landlords, but they can only build and construct the houses. They can't build and construct the infrastructure. So then we have governments, right, which collect tax, which can then put that tax money into the infrastructure spend. But we do know that the budgets of the governments are strained. They've spent money on Medicare, they've spent money on NDIS, they've got to spend money on the military. But how about infrastructure? Where is that spend? Now, the other big area that not a lot of people are talking about, and when they do talk about it, they talk about it as a negative. We used to have in this country huge investment, billions of dollars from overseas investors that would buy off the plan apartments in this country. Now, I'm going to put this chart up and you're going to see that from 2014, 15, 16, we hit over $70 billion worth of investment in one single year from foreign investors buying off the planned apartments. So this is billions of dollars. You can see that it has dramatically reduced because they changed the rules. I'm gonna link down here in the video so you can check out how those changes happened. And I've got a really good video on the positive impact of foreign investment. So you can click that and watch that video. But check out this. We are now down at under 7 billion a year from foreign investment. And this means we are not building and constructing enough apartments in this country. You see, most Aussies don't like buying apartments off the plan. Sophisticated investors do. I buy a lot of my own personal investments as apartments off the plan. I make a killing on those. I make a lot of money on those. But the everyday Australian really does not want to do that. So we've got to get that capital from somewhere. We used to get it from overseas and now we don't. Now, if you look at that foreign investment and map that against housing approvals and housing completions, check out housing approvals and housing completions chart right here. You can see that back when we had massive foreign investment, we also had way more homes being built. So this is a big policy mistake by our government, cutting off the funding from overseas investors. Now, because we've cut this funding off, our cities now do not have enough apartments. If we had, think for a moment, Sydney or Melbourne or anywhere around the country, if we had another 15, 20, 25,000 apartments available for rent, that would bring rents down, but we don't have them. So this chart is going to show the density of apartments in our cities compared to other cities around the world. And you can see here at number 1, we've actually got London with 3.2 million units, which make up 93.9% of all homes in London. Singapore, 93.7% of all homes in Singapore are units. Hong Kong, 83%. Tokyo, 58%. Now, Sydney, as an example, is a global international city with a huge population and a growing population, and yet the density of apartments is only at 46.2%. Now, I know what some of the haters are gonna say, Scott, I don't wanna live in an apartment. Well, that's you, okay? We've got a lot of young working people. I'm talking about the great people that cut our hair, our barbers. I'm talking about the great people that service our coffees and service at our cafeterias and our restaurants. I'm talking about all of the inner city workers, young people. Now, if there were thousands of apartments available there for them to rent and live out their young lives prior to having families and then wanting potentially to move into a house, then this would ease the housing crisis significantly. So what is the problem? A lot of it is the issues with our government. They cannot get approvals through. And it's due to something called NIMBYISM. So I'm going to put a link to that below. But basically, this is people in local areas, local councils, fighting against the state government, fighting against the federal government, saying we will not allow apartments in our backyard. Now, even if the approvals get through, building and construction costs have blown out of the water 40, 50% more, and then you've got to sell these apartments off the plan. You need buyers. Now, if you don't have buyers, the project never starts. We've cut off the foreign investors. We do not have enough incentives for everyday Aussies to invest into property, and therefore these apartment projects are not getting off the ground. So guys, as we head into May, we're going to see the federal election come up and we're going to see what policies come out, because ultimately government is going to have to do something here to fix this. But what I can tell you is that this will not be solved for at least 5 years, because even if they bring out the best policies at the election in May, even if we get the best policies to solve this, it's going to take time for those policies to flow through and to actually see houses on the ground. Remember, we need massive amount of infrastructure, we need a massive amount of building, and we need a massive amount of capital money to make it all happen, and we need the approvals at every level of government. Good luck seeing that happen.